Ginger and Brenda up there?
Yep. It's
Oh, 7 o'clock up there. Which one do we go by?
well, you can go by that if you want. Okay.
It is 7 o'clock. This meeting of the Willamina School Board is called to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we proceed with this month's school board meeting, it is necessary for the board to give consideration toward a challenge that we are presently facing during our monthly meetings. The Oregon Health Authority, or OHA, has broad legal authority to adopt rules to control communicable diseases. Oregon Revised Statute, ORS 431.110, grants OHA full power in the control of all communicable diseases. OAR 333-019-1025 clearly states individuals, regardless of vaccination status, are required to wear a mask, a face covering, or a face shield when in an indoor space. While exceptions are given for certain places and activities, the activities of this board, when meeting in person, are not granted such an exception. I acknowledge the members of our community who have chosen to take a stance against the mask and vaccine mandates currently implemented by the state of Oregon. And at times, I have also chafed against these mandates and longed for an end to this pandemic. As a community member myself, I empathize with the positions stated. And as a citizen of these United States, I strongly support the freedoms of speech and these people's rights to stand for what they believe in. As school board members, we are sworn to uphold both federal and state laws, and we do not have the luxury of choosing which laws we will uphold and when we will choose to uphold them. Sworn to uphold the entirety of the law if we choose to not comply with the current mask mandate, not as individual citizens, but as board members. It becomes difficult for us to easily proceed with our school board meetings. The board members choosing to not properly wear masks during our monthly school board meetings, we kindly suggest in the future that they attend our meetings virtually via Zoom, using the equipment that we have provided to them for this explicit purpose. Understanding all of this as board chair, after tonight's meeting, I will be seeking further counsel from OSBA on this specific situation, and I hope to provide adequate remedies by our January 2022 meeting. Thank you. The first item up on our agenda would be information from the Board of Education regarding the regional candidate for Yamhill and Polk County.
I included some information. There's only one candidate for our region, an incumbent position. I'm just provided you some information on who she is and her, along with her resume.
Right.
And we will be voting on it later in the meeting. And so I will, if you guys want to vote on that, then I submit that to OSBA on email.
Okay. So is that something that we vote on now, or we wait
We'll
until
do it on
further?
our decision items.
Okay. Thank you, April.
Mm-hmm.
Next item, I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent meeting.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Does anyone second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Who was that?
Ginger.
Thanks, Ginger. The motion to approve the consent agenda as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Brenda, I think you're muted. There you go.
Aye.
There
Aye.
you go.
The vote appears to be unanimous. Next item up is our superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. So in the superintendent's report, I have listed some items that under the heading of facilities, particularly that we are beginning to work on bringing in electrical lines to the multipurpose building. Some of this work is going to take place over the break because they do have to shut power off to the building. So it's a good time for them to do some of that. This will all be in preparation for adding a true HVAC system to our multipurpose room, which will allow for air conditioning. This is a facility that's used greatly during the summertime for, preseason and open gyms. And so having that AC HVAC system, it qualifies for our ESSER 2 funds because any improvements and upgrades to HVAC system is covered with those emergency funds. So that was one of our earmarked projects using our ESSER 2 funds. In our ESSER 3 funds, we have encumbered money for the water line upgrades and expansion of the middle school.
Nice.
Finance, this past week I was at the school law conference in Eugene. This conference updates, a lot of legislative updates, as well as there's always breakout sessions to attend that focuses on collective bargaining, trends in collective bargaining, and so I usually take the time to attend to those. In preparation, it'll be budget season before we know it. Usually once the holidays pass and we start the new year is when I start getting budget documents together in preparation for our proposed budget, with budget meetings beginning usually in March. We do have an opening on our budget committee, so hopefully we can get that filled prior to March. We'll make sure we get some advertisement going again. One of the things that will be new, we will be negotiating both of our contracts for our certified union group and our classified union group. Some legislative changes that will impact bargaining is class size is a mandatory bargaining topic this year. So before it was permissible, but now it's a mandatory topic. So that will be another piece to our collective bargaining process. Ready School Safe Learners, not a whole lot of updates. However, the outdoor mask mandate was removed. And something new that we have added most recently is the test to stay option for students. So close contact in a school is considered a student closer than 3 feet when one or the other or both are not wearing a mask. So if you're wearing your mask diligently, you're staying more than 3 feet apart, it's not considered a close contact or exposure. However, if any of those are not in place, it is. Now they allow us to do a test on the day of exposure or of known exposure, and then another test on day 7. If those are negative, the student can remain in school and no need to quarantine. But it has to be a school exposure only. It can't be that they were exposed at home at a social gathering and now they're going to come to school and test to stay. It has to be a school exposure, and it cannot be exposure in an extracurricular activity. So it has to be basically a classroom exposure. Our district leadership team did not meet tonight. However, we did have a group that a multi-tiered system of support model is being developed. We have most of the pieces in place, but we are formalizing our model. So there was approximately 20 of us that met after school today to really go over that. I gave you an example of that, of some of the services. We did add to it tonight. In your packet, you'll see a tiered, colored, I had one really handy, but anyway, it's in with my, right behind my superintendent's report, you'll see that model. It talks about our tiered system, so our universal services that are available for every student, and then in the event that a student is in need of more supports, how we layer those supports and provide those to students. There we go. Okay, I don't like my fingers. How many times does that happen there today? It looks like this. So we spent about an hour and a half going through that thoroughly with the group tonight, and we did actually have a few tasks that we managed to assign. So we've got a group that will be working on a district-wide referral process, and we have a group that will be working on our special ed referral process as well. So a few items that we have in the process. We plan to meet at least quarterly. The goal is to make sure that we have a model in place that we can easily communicate to our families of what's available for their student when there's a need for support, and we can communicate with our staff what's available should they identify a student within their classroom that they is maybe struggling or they feel is in need of more support. So we're excited that we're putting this into a structure that will be easy to communicate, but also really grateful that we have such a comprehensive team and set of services that I think rivals any district in the state. I also included some topics. So critical race theory, comprehensive sex education have risen to a level of concern where districts are finding themselves being bombarded by people wanting to know where it falls in school curriculum. And so I put some information. OSB, they did a pretty nice job putting together an FAQ about critical race theory. But I also added one from, I think it's Washington that I added. I thought theirs was actually better, did a better job explaining the questions people have about critical race theory and its role in K-12 education and providing those answers. It appears that these concerns that school districts are receiving are coming across very canned and scripted. That it doesn't seem to be like you get a phone call and someone wants to talk to you about, the curriculum, your U.S. history curriculum or your social studies curriculum, and how are you teaching critical race theory? It comes across very much as like, wow, someone called me yesterday and said the exact same thing, almost verbatim. And, you know, in a little, to be honest, I've only received 2 phone calls, but in sitting in those meetings at the law conference, there's districts that are getting 80 a day of these same questions. And so it warranted a complete session at the law conference and helping us to have responses if we are faced with those questions or concerns, and how do we make sure we are giving our community the opportunity to learn about what it is, and maybe answer some of those questions before they feel the need to go to the district with those concerns. So I just wanted to make sure these were good, you know, because as board members, you may get approached and asked about that and be asked to give a response. And the other thing I put, you saw there was 2 handouts on where you were sitting that I did not include the packet because I just completed it today. It is the SIA, or Student Investment Account Annual Report questions. And these have to be posted to our website, and then I have to send a link to our website where it's posted to ODE to verify that we have it up on our website. And then we have to share the minutes from this board meeting that says, I gave you a copy of our Student Investment Account Annual Report. And it's just 4 questions about, and I actually attached and gave you a summary of our SIA plan, because we spent a lot of time as a district leadership team really creating this student investment plan and prioritizing what was important for Willamina School District based on the responses of our community that we gathered in parent engagement nights. So, you know, when this whole student success initiative was passed by legislation, a portion of that corporate activity tax that is gathered and reserved for K-12 education, a portion goes to the student investment account, and each district is allotted so many funds, and you had to create a plan of how you were going to spend those funds and how you prioritize it. And there was basically 4 areas of allowable uses, and so we prioritized. But in being approved to have the funds and spend the funds, you have reports you have to submit to ODE. And so this is the final report for the school year. And we received dramatically less funds than we were originally expecting, but that was due to COVID. And so they wanted to know how the implementation of SIA funds went with those barriers. And so I won't read it to you, you can see that. And for anyone in the community, it is posted on our website under the Student Investment Annual Report. And so we will, once we have our minutes done, we can finalize that report to the state. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and this really ties into finance, is our contract with First Student, our transportation contractor, that contract expires at the end of this school year. And so we have to look at either putting out a new RFP, request for proposals, from other transportation departments to bid the job, or we can choose to extend the contract with First Student. And that's not a decision you have to make tonight. So I've asked First Student at least to give you, for the January meeting, a proposal of the cost for that extension, what that would be for us to consider. And then the last time we went out for bid, First Student was the only company that gave us a bid. So there's really only 3 companies in Oregon that provide transportation services to schools. There's Mid-Columbia, which is who Sheridan uses. There's First Student, which is used by Willamina, Amity, McVinnville. And then there's NSA, National Students, maybe NST, National Student Transportation, which is pretty new to the Oregon area. They are widespread across the U.S., but not a whole lot of contracts within Oregon, but they are starting to become more present in the state. But so we have a decision to make, whether we want to go out for a proposal or do we want to extend the contract with First Student. But I think you need that information of what that proposal would look like for an extension. And then I think in comparison, I could perhaps get the contract from Sheridan, which they have Mid-Columbia, and we could
I think that would be,
maybe do some compare and contrast.
I think that would be really good.
I can do that.
Thank you. Is that everything?
Yeah, that's, I am completed.
Thank you so much. Next on our agenda is the principal's report. Is Sarah here?
Yep. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. So we had a good month looking back in November. There wasn't a whole lot of school days, but we did have some good professional development with our staff. Like Carrie said, we've been working on the multi-tiered systems of support, mostly in the field of social and emotional learning and reading. We had a really good system of support for reading prior to the pandemic, and we're making a lot of academic growth with our kids. So we're using the same system when it comes to behavior and mental health and social and emotional learning to try and meet the needs of our individual students. So we really reminded teachers of the tools that they've got in their toolbox, and then what's available to them if a student needs intervention. In fact, we met today as a staff to talk about what kind of data to take and then how to analyze it and create interventions, and then how to determine if those interventions are working. So that's kind of an ongoing process with us. Monique Keeling is our behavior coach, and she has been amazing with working with our staff on trauma-informed practices. She does a lot with the company 321 Insight to kind of help with professional development. So she started the ball rolling this month with providing kind of an overview to staff to watch as webinars kind of to help on their own time, and really kind of prepare us all to meet the needs of students who have experienced trauma, especially in the past year. We had family conferences that were held virtually on November 12th, and that was after the conclusion of the first quarter progress report. So it was a great opportunity for teachers to check in with parents and families and talk about areas of strength and areas of growth for students. We had our November Student of the Month, and right at the end, Rebecca Arredondo, our tribal attendance promising practices family advocate, has been amazing at putting together videos that are fun for the kids to watch that have the names of our Students of the Month in lieu of an all-school assembly, which we've done in the past. So they're really enjoying that. And December and January, we're focusing on relationship skills. We had a teacher who really takes charge. He's a great teacher leader, takes charge of his own learning. And I thought I'd just give him a shout out to you guys and let you know what he's up to. He went after a Google Certified Education Level 1 certificate. So he attended the trainings, and now he took a 3-hour assessment on what he learned, and he demonstrates the fundamental knowledge, the skills, and the competencies needed to implement the Google for Education tools. So I'm just all around proud of him. He does a great job at continuing learning. Our days off in December, pretty much just the holiday break coming up. And then our attendance is listed there for you. We are up 2 students from last month, so we're staying right around that 370 mark. That's about it. Any questions?
Sounds fantastic, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Next up for is it Sean for our middle school?
I think Jamie will start us off, and then I'll follow right after.
You guys keep flipping on me.
We just tag team.
Yeah, keeping you on your toes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to take a moment and just give a big shout out to our staff and our students. Today we finished a project. So on our Mondays when we have our advisory and our Bulldog Hour, we also have a third session where students have been working on project-based type of learning. And the last 4 weeks they've been doing Bulldogs Give. And so they all chose a cause or some sort of act of giving that they wanted to do, and they worked on that. Today we had a middle school assembly and a high school assembly where the student groups were able to present what project they chose, why they chose it, what impact it had, and what they learned, from that project. And just, I was at the high school assembly and Sean was at the middle school. And so we both just kind of wanted to highlight some of the things that we saw. And, we had everything from community cleanups to canned food drives, toy drives, clothing drives, food for all. We had hallway decorating to bring more spirit to the school. We had one particular group they partnered with Homeward Bound, the pet shelter in McMinnville, and they were able to raise basically about $4,900 for the pet shelter. They did a bottle drive, and bottle drop matched what they raised, plus brought in close to $500 in cash. And they were able to present that to Homeward Bound at the assembly. We had care packages for our Willamina graduates who are serving in the armed forces, and they're serving our country, and they were able to collect funds and items to put into care packages and send out to our students and honor them. We also had a group who wanted to spread some good cheer to the younger students, so they did like a little candy cane hot chocolate packet for all the middle school kids with a cutout, and then they wrote positive messages on all of those. And at lunch today, I got to see the impact of that, where kids were trading their positive messages and some were collecting them. But it just really seemed to make an impact. Our shop for a student, which I'm assuming Spire we'll talk about later, but we had some of our groups that helped fundraise for that. And, it was a real, not only was it work on their part, but they reached out to our community, our local community, and people stepped up in a big way and helped out parents and community members and some of our businesses. The learning piece, we had one group shared that, they learned that it's a lot different when you give to a cause versus put something on, like an event on, or organize an event, and just all of the different pieces that need to go into place. And some people learned that they wish they would have marketed it better or got the word out more. But overall, I was just really proud of our students and our staff for really working together to make that impact. But I'll let Sean share some of the middle school.
Yeah, so like Mrs. Fluke said, I was really impressed with the different ideas and the different avenues that kids went when they think of the idea of giving. Some people went with the idea of raising money for an organization, whereas others went for an act of service, which I think are both awesome, and I want our kids involved in that type of stuff. I know we had some 6th grade groups that went and helped to donate time and volunteer for our local thrift store in Willamina, and also at the Tina Miller Center. I know that they were doing things kind of like organizing clothes and stuff that were being handed out, food packages. Another group of 6th graders went around and did a trash pickup around not only the campus but downtown, and they collected a total of 16 full trash bags, which I thought was a lot of trash, but that was great. We had a 7th grade group, and I think blended with an 8th grade group, that combined to raise money and help with the Rough Life, which is like a dog shelter rescue in Grand Ronde, and to also raise awareness about that organization. We had a 7th grade group that did a Buff Puff volleyball game, which was our 7th grade boys, and I think our 8th grade boys as well, and 6th grade boys playing volleyball. And they raised over $200 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And then our life skills program has shared that they made toys, pillows, ornaments, things like that for our kids in our local daycare system. So I just thought overall it was great to see all the kids being active in their giving during this time of year and this season. And yeah, I think everyone learned something from it. And even if they struggled to do something or run an event, it's a learning experience, and that's really what we want for these kids.
Yeah, and we talked about, you know, when you take 500 students, and even, you know, and they were all involved at different levels, but if everybody's working towards something like that, just what you can accomplish in a short amount of time, and that, you know, never underestimate the impact that you could make on your community or your school or just your, you know, the world. And so that was really exciting. As we go into January, we're going to focus a little more on the end of our semester. And so we're going to do double Bulldog hours on Monday, which allows students to get any needed help that they might need to help finish out the semester strong and pass their classes. And then we're going to focus on some of our social emotional learning through Ruler. We only have a couple Mondays left in January because we have a grading day and Martin Luther King Day. And then as we go into February, our goal is to focus on maybe the theme of Bulldogs Serve. And so serving, kind of similar to giving, but also community service and just serving our school and our community in places that there are needs. Then we also, on Monday, we spent some time with the trauma-informed learning and social emotional learning, just recognizing some of the needs that we have with our students. Just knowing that what we're in right now is just this new horizon with students, and we're learning new things every day about them. And so we were able to look at the broader impact of the pandemic on schools in general and staff and students. We watched a portion of a video put on by 321 Insight that highlighted trauma-informed behavior interventions and trauma-informed discipline and response. And so we're just really working hard to to piggyback off what Carrie was talking about, those multi-tiered systems of support and just how we approach those needs and of our staff and our students to just have a strong culture where students can grow and thrive. And then also just building that culture with our staff, building some connections. We did have a staff holiday party this Saturday, and then also a breakfast this morning after our meeting, just to give people some time to connect with one another, and just in the area of, you know, building those relationships and just feeling supported by one another. That just helps enhance our culture. And I think I'm going to turn it over to you, Sean.
Thank you. So I want to just recognize a couple of people and organizations. So one is our high school leadership, which is led by Scott Nelson. They every year do Shop for a Student, and I'm going to let Spire kind of talk about that, but they just do a great job in helping people in need at this time of year, and just thank you so much for putting all that together. I know it's a ton of work, and it's a ton of work outside of school hours, so thank you to all of you who helped with that. National Honor Society, thank you to the advisor, Raya Fasana, for hosting 2021-22 National Honor Society tapping ceremony that took place on December 6th. As we look at school improvement, we have started to do our first round of teacher evaluations over about the last month, and we will continue those into basically throughout the rest of the year. We did hold a 9th grade on track meeting, and that's a group that we will meet on a regular basis just to you know, kind of intervene with 9th graders where we need to, and kind of identify what students are doing well and what students are in need of some supports. And then we did have our staff break into PLCs, I think 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, and tier students based off of basically behaviors and social emotional needs. And so we did that, and so we're going to build off that list and use that list to hopefully guide our instruction with social emotional learning and also for interventions for specific students. And from there, our eligibility team meets every 2 weeks to look at athletes and their grades and their eligibility. And our total enrollment is at 497 students at the middle and high school. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up is Spire Nelson with our student report.
Hello. First, I'm going to start off by talking about our Shop for a Student program that you've heard Ms. Fluke and Mr. Draper mention. So every year, our leadership team, paired up with the National Honor Society students, raise money for the less fortunate kids through K through 5 in our school district. Last Saturday, we went out and we went shopping for these students. They're given a piece of paper that they can put $40 worth of toys and stuff that they would want. And to the best of our ability, we go out and we shop for those items. So along with those items and toys that we get for them, we also get them a stocking filled with different things such as candy and erasers and pencils and just other small little things like that. We will be giving out all these gifts to these students on Wednesday. That will happen during 6th period, and it's always a fun event. We have all the young K through 5 students come down and we give them all of their gifts, and it's always such a fun time. Our leadership team is also working towards preparing a winter dance that's going to happen sometime after we come back from our break. That is going to be in the works. That will happen sometime after school. Next up, our Willamette Ffa team. They have started their Food for All. They are working with the VFW, the Grand Ronde Food Bank, and the Newport Salvation Army, and they help package food for those community members that are less fortunate so they can give them items to eat during this holiday season. It's always a big event that goes on. It happens for a couple weeks out in our wood and metal shop, and we always have a lot of community support with that. Also with FFA, they've competed in ag sales, and they actually had a freshman go to the Green Hand Conference, which is very exciting. And there is also a group that is working on a display for the Grand National Roadster Show, which is a car show that happens in LA. Our metal shop students are working on a display for that, and they will go down there and showcase their talents and what they have built. Next up is our high school wrestling team. Last week we went over and wrestled at Westview High School at the Rose City tournament. We brought 11 wrestlers over there. Myself and Michael Fox, we both placed. I took 5th and he took 2nd, so that's very nice as well. We will be wrestling Thursday. We'll be wrestling Saturday at Nestucca and Thursday at Central High School. Those will both be happening during the day. Next up, with our basketball team, they are going to be competing tomorrow at home against Harrisburg. All of our teams will be playing. They would love it if you could come and watch that as well. And finally, our football team, they just got done. We did our football awards and that award ceremony a couple days ago, and that was very nicely attended. Lots of people showed up. And we are currently starting fundraising for our football jerseys for next year. Our football coach, Coach Oswald, when he was here a couple of years ago, originally as the head coach, he helped fundraise all this money to help get us new jerseys and pants. And he is going to do that again this year because every couple of years they need to be rotated out just because of them getting worn over time. So that fundraising is going to start here coming soon. It's going to be about $4,800 for all the new jerseys. But we're hoping we can do some community events and get some of that money raised with the help of community members and members from the staff. And that is all I have to report. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic, Spire. Thank you. Now's the time for audience input. Citizen input on non-agenda items shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, 30 minutes per item. Is there anyone in the audience that has anything that they feel needs to come before the board that is not currently on our agenda? Yes.
Hello.
Hello, and you are?
My name is Alyssa Isley. For those of you who don't know me, I typically attend online, so you might have seen my name or face up there. Tonight I chose to come in person so that I could first say thank you to those of you who choose to wear your mask appropriately at these meetings. I very much appreciate that. And secondly, to say how disappointed I am in those of you who continue to refuse to do so. Last month, when a couple of board members attended without a mask at all, I wrote a letter to talk about my concerns. Apparently, my letter was not taken to heart. At this point, I doubt that there is much I could say or do to change your mind about masks or taking the risks of COVID seriously. So I will just say instead that students and staff are expected to wear their mask for 6 to 8 hours a day. I feel that if they can do that, you can wear one for the hour-long meeting that you have once a month. You've also been given the opportunity to participate virtually if you do not wish to follow the same expectations. And I would highly encourage you to do so to protect those around you and their families. Thank you.
Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate your comments. Is there anybody else who has anything that they would like to share or bring before the board?
Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Nelson.
It's Mrs. Nelson. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't have much voice left.
Absolutely.
There we go. I just wanted to bring to your attention that we had a holiday market on December 4th. It was a student and staff holiday market up here at the school, and the community came out and supported our students and staff that chose to have tables. We had several students who had their own creations for sale, either from the ceramics class, from the wood shop, from the metal shop, or things they create on their own. And we had an awesome turnout. We're hoping to have maybe a spring showcase. We're not quite sure on the wording. It's not been approved yet. We've not proposed it yet, but we're hopeful. And then we'll make this an annual or twice annual event.
Sounds pretty exciting. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Treon. You did awesome with that. Thank you.
The kids did awesome.
Yes.
Is there anybody else who has anything that they would like to bring forth before the board? Okay, next on the agenda, tribal grant, Carrie?
Yes, so earlier in the school year, I was contacted by our tribe that they were applying for a drug prevention grant. And in the grant included a school resource officer to be located at the Willamina School District. We just received notice not too long ago that they were successful. I've been in communication with Chief McKnight, and the plan is to have a school resource here on site beginning January 3rd, so when we return from the holiday break. And we are super excited that we will be welcoming alumni JJ Flynn, Officer JJ Flynn, as our school resource officer here with the Willamina School District. Yeah, so homegrown, he does coach football as well, so he's very familiar with many of our students. And I think this will be a great presence.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to cast Willamina School District's vote for Rebecca Piros for OSBA Legislative Policy Committee, Region Position Number 13.
Online audience are muted. They need to unmute if they need to speak.
Brenda, can you unmute?
Brenda and Ginger need to unmute.
I'm not seeing Ginger up there.
It's under
She's
Roy.
right.
Oh.
Brenda and Ginger, can you unmute? Thank you.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Can you hear? Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I move to cast Willamina School District's vote for Rebecca Prios for OSBA Legislative Policy Committee Region Position Number 13.
Second.
The motion to cast Willamina School District's vote for Rebecca Kuros for OSBA Legislative Policy Committee Region Position Number 13 has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion?
None here.
Hearing no questions or, well, comments, but hearing no questions, I call for the vote. All those in favor of casting Willamina School District's vote for Rebecca Puros for OSBA Legislative Policy Committee Region Position Number 13 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Vote appears to be unanimous. Next on the agenda, we have board policy updates. I will entertain a motion to adopt board policy GBNAA/JHFF-AR suspected sexual conduct report procedures and forms as presented.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
It's a white page and it has, they have to be made individually, but there's the
Yeah.
language.
There's like 8 of them, right after your final green page.
You have to do each one individually.
It says all motions must be made individually. So I'll start with the first one. Policy GBNAA/JHFF-AR. I move to adopt policy, which I just said, GBNAA/GFFA-AR suspected sexual conduct report procedures and forms as presented.
Second.
The motion for adopting board policy GBNAA/JHFF-AR suspected sexual conduct report procedures and forms as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy GBNAA/JHFF-AR suspected sexual conduct report procedures and forms as presented signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Vote appears unanimous. Next up, I will.
Next. Can we just read them through?
Sure.
Okay.
We have 8 of them.
Policy. I know, I can do it.
All right.
Policy GBNAA-JF or JHFF. I move to adopt board policy GBNAA/JHFF- suspected sexual conduct with students and reporting requirements as presented.
Second.
The motion to adopt board policy GBNAA/JHFF- suspected sexual conduct with students and reporting requirements as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy GBNAA/JHFF-H suspected sexual conduct with students and reporting requirements as presented signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Vote appears unanimous.
Next one, policy DJC. I move to adopt board policy DJC-bidding requirements, version 1 as presented.
Second. The motion to adopt board policy DJC-bidding requirements version 1 as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy DJC-bidding requirements version 1 as presented signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. Vote appears unanimous.
Next one, policy BDDH. I move to adopt board policy BDDH/dash public comment as board meetings as presented.
Second.
The motion to adopt board policy BDDH-public comment at board meetings as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy BDDH-public comment at board meetings as presented signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. Vote appears unanimous.
Next one, policy CM. I move to adopt board policy CM-compliance and reporting standards as presented.
Second.
The motion to adopt board policy CM-compliance and reporting standards as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy CM-compliance and reporting standards as presented signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay. Vote is unanimous.
Next one, policy GBEA. I move to adopt board policy GBEA-workplace harassment as presented.
Second.
The motion to adopt board policy GBEA, workplace harassment as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy GBEA, workplace harassment as presented signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Vote is unanimous.
Next one, policy AC. I move to adopt board policy AC-non-discrimination as presented.
Second. Second.
Thanks. The motion to adopt board policy AC-non-discrimination as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for the board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy AC-non-discrimination as presented signify by saying aye.
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 All of those opposed? Vote appears to be unanimous.
Last one, policy AC-AR. I move to adopt board policy AC-AR, discrimination complaint procedure as presented.
Second.
The motion to adopt board policy AC-AR, discrimination complaint procedure as presented has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments for the board discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting board policy.
Your infection one also? I'm not kidding with that.
Aye.
Aye.
Vote appears to be unanimous.
Sorry, I just had people walk in, so
Entertainment.
that's life around here.
And finally, future agenda items.
April, is that all of those policies or do we get to
Nope,
do
those
more?
were 8 of the 23 that we reviewed in the work session, so we'll be going through this for a couple
Yay.
months.
And
All right.
Ginger gets to tag the next person to read them all.
Oh, I will.
Good. So you'll notice on the future agenda items, we have the CTE presentation. Our January board meeting will be actually hosted in our CTE shop. We will have a student presentation. We have a group of kids that are going to be headed to Los Angeles to participate in a road show. Or
Yay.
roadster show, I keep saying road show, roadster show. And so they got a really incredible invite. They're going to be headed there for the duration of it. And the community's come out very supportive. They've done a little social media blast, and First Federal's donated over $1,000. The Kiwanis has donated $500. Kids have been fundraising, so we're excited for the kids to present to you and for you to see some of the projects they've got going on in that space.
Yay, that's super cool.
All in person, right?
Pardon?
That one will be in person.
Yes. People are welcome to join in person for that meeting. There's plenty of space that we can spread out, and it'll give you an opportunity to talk to the kids, ask questions, and see some of the projects they're working on.
I think we should maybe plan on meeting at 6:30 so the students can do a preliminary presentation before our actual meeting, if it's
Before the
doable.
business meeting, so
I second the motion.
awesome.
What day is that?
It'll be at our January board meeting. I want to say it's going to be the 10th, but it'll be that
Yes.
second Monday.
Yes, it's on the 10th.
Great.
Okay. Fantastic. With nothing further on the agenda to discuss, the meeting of the Willamina School Board is hereby adjourned. Oh, yes. Oh, you're waving.
Just waving goodbye.